Hello, my dear friends. Welcome to another episode on planning your kitchen garden. Today, I want to give you some simple rules on how you plan and design your kitchen garden. One among the rules you need to consider, and the most important, is having a seed bed. Instead of buying your seedlings, you sow your seeds in your seed bed. For example, you can see from my kitchen garden, you can see my seed bed here with, you can see a few spinach seedlings. You can also see I have left a few onion. I have transplanted some, and you can see onion. So a seed bed is very important to learn a vegetable garden. Or like a well organized seed bed saves you on time. It also saves you on money, and you have diverse and plenty of the vegetables that you like. For example, you can see, as you can see from my seed bed, these are kales. You can also see I have curry kales there, and you can see some spinach. So I have diverse of vegetables. You can also see I have a tree nursery here. I'm waiting for them to pick up. So that is one rule and one of the most factor to consider when learning a kitchen garden. The other thing you need to consider is having soil rich in nutrients. In most cases, you find people having soil that does not give your vegetables nutrition. So if your soil is not very good, you can consider adding organic manure. You can consider adding compost or either animal manure so that you can mix with the soil or just pour above before you plant your vegetables. There's also another thing you need to mind about: the type of vegetables that you are going to plant in your garden. In most cases, you need to start from the vegetables that you use most commonly at home. For example, if you look at my kitchen garden here, you note that most of the vegetables that I have planted in my kitchen garden is the one that is consumed almost in every home. For example, you can see these are kales. You need kales, especially in African setups where you eat with ugali or other diets. The most basic vegetable is kales. So see, I have plenty of them. The other common vegetable that is taken by most people is the spinach. So you can see spinach. Spinach is very rich in nutrition and it is liked by most people. So this is a factor you need to consider: having plenty of spinach and kale vegetables. That's why you can see from my nursery bed here, I have most of them are spinach. This is also another vegetable liked by most people and normally used by most people in most kitchens or in most homes: onion. So consider setting aside a space for planting. In most cases, you find most people using the spring onion, but you can also consider adding bulb onion. As you can see, the ones in my seed bed here, bulb onion, because they substitute each other. But to me, I mostly prefer using spring onion. Another vegetable you need to factor when planning your kitchen garden are tomatoes. So from your my seed bed here, you can see my young tomatoes. Very important. So in my kitchen garden, I prefer, for the part of spices, I prefer using tomatoes. So for example, you can see these young ones, I transplanted them yesterday, young ones. And I also prefer using, so if you see here, I have small gadgets that are germinating. I prefer using them. So my kitchen garden is well sorted off in part of spices with the tomatoes and young gadgets. Then there is this fig leaf gourd. In Kenya, most people prefer it when cooking mashed foods. It's also used as vegetables when eating ugali. It has diverse use. Some prefer using pumpkins, pumpkin leaves and gourd leaves. But to me, I prefer planting this fig leaf gourd because it has very green, very nutritious leaves. So this one of the vegetables that you also need to consider. After planting all the basic vegetables in your kitchen garden or your vegetable gardens, you can plant other ornamentals. They are good and they are nutrition, but they are just substitute. For example, you can see this one is curly kales or sukuma matubo. So that's the point that you start considering other ones like the dania, coriander, and the rest, depending on your taste. In your kitchen garden, you can also consider planting other crops. For example, you see I have a line of maize, and you note that my maize is of different sizes, so it ensures that at one point in time you have at least one maize to burn or to cook githeri or your preference. So we also keep the soil. That's why you can see maize of different sizes. For those who do not use or they don't plant flowers most often, you can consider planting some fruits. For example, in my case, I have decided to plant, I have strawberry. You can see they are flowering. Strawberry in the same kitchen garden. You can also see I have 3 tomatoes, and also you can see this aisle of avocado plant. So you can see the organization of that kitchen garden. That's the second rule or the second factor you need to consider. The other factor you need to consider when planning your kitchen garden is how you are going to organize your vegetables. So if you look at the ideal view of my organization of my kitchen garden, you can see how I have organized it at this season in time. You put the order of the vegetables that you use most, the vegetables that require most exposure to sunlight. You put them in the point where they are going to receive enough sunlight. For example, kales, they need an open space. You can see tomatoes, they need an open space. You can also note my amarantha, pigweed, you also need an open space. And also, you factor in the crops that you use most in the kitchen. They are in the line where you don't need to keep on stepping inside the kitchen garden. For example, If you look at the edge of my kitchen garden, I have spinach. These are spinach. So you pick them. You find that you will not have to step into the kitchen garden for the same. You also note onion planted in this line. There's also another vegetable that I have not germinated. I planted it soon, or I sowed soon. This is the carrot, this area. So you ensure that your kitchen garden caters for most common vegetables that you use at home. So if you look at this line, these are small kales I transplanted in the recent past. It's 2 days old. And you note that they are at the edge. So you use common kales most often. That's why I have put them at the edge so that it will be easier for you to pick them. For the success of your kitchen garden, you also need to learn the best practices of picking your vegetables. For example, kales, you need to cut the lower leaves. You cut the lower leaves, and you have to ensure that you leave this stalk. When you cut the lower leaves, you leave this one. It falls, and the stem is not wooded. So you cut the lower leaves so that it gives time for the other leaves to regenerate. So when you cut the lower leaves, these younger leaves will generate much faster. When it comes to spinach, you can use a knife, or you can tilt it gently, from the lower leaves. The same with the curly kales. Planning a kitchen garden is a long and tiresome experience, but its benefit is paramount. Some people prefer planting, depending on the area that they have. They prefer planting their vegetables in pots and put them at the balconies of their house. But if you have a small area, no matter whether it's 3 by 3 or 3 by 4 or even 4 by 4 meters, you can start a small open kitchen garden. It's your preference to know whether you only want vegetables, fruits, or flowers, all the same. But the advantages you get from a kitchen garden are immeasurable. You find that with a kitchen garden, you save a lot of money that you use going to the market for shopping for small items like vegetables and so on. So another thing you need to factor in when planning your kitchen garden is where you'll get water for irrigating your vegetables. You note that in most cases, maybe you'll not have to rely on rain-fed agriculture because sometimes rain fails. So you need a certain amount of water. So, or you also need to ensure that when you have transplanted your vegetables, like in my case here, you water them regularly till when they start by their own. So thank you for choosing to be together with the Smart Farm Ideas. I know you are learning very new about farming. Farming is all about learning. And I know when we work together, I'm going to learn from you people, and you're also going to learn from me so many things. So my request is you learn about kitchen garden, you implement about kitchen garden. I would like at least you to benefit from the knowledge that you are learning from my kitchen garden. So make use of these ideas and many others that you are going to learn from my channel. more offer, remember to subscribe. I'll be very grateful. At least you help my YouTube channel to continue growing. Lastly, but not the least, one factor you also need to consider is crop or vegetable rotation. If you look at this area, for example, this area here, I had planted spinach. Now I uprooted them to pave way for tomatoes. After tomatoes, I'll plant something else. This time loud, I moved the spinach. If you look at this area here, the one with the kales, I had planted carrots in the previous season. Right now you can see there is kales and there is some germinating courgettes. In this case, I have moved carrot to this section. This section was meant for kales last time and onion the previous season. So you can see now it is carrot. So you also need to consider crop rotation, because crop rotation help your plants to grow healthier, to avoid most common diseases, and thus your kitchen garden flourish too well. So thank you so much. God bless you.